Good afternoon, I'm Mahalia Joseph. C News is live at noon.
And I'm Rishi Harinanan with sport.
We begin with news that the Public Service Association is leading members attached to the Water and Sewerage Authority in protest action outside the WASA office in St. Joseph. C News understands they are protesting stalled salary negotiations for 2014-2016. Well, to some other news now, police are now searching for a mother of two who was reportedly abducted this morning. Reports say Ria Sukdeo was snatched outside the Picton Presbyterian Primary School after dropping off her children. Sukdeo, a hairdresser, lives at Wellington Road Extension, Debe. And on Wednesday night, a candlelight vigil was held at B-Mile Trace, San Fransique, as the family of Malcolm Shastri Duki continued to pray for his safe return. The 28-year-old went missing last week Thursday. His relatives were told that the police were continuing the search up until this morning. Anyone with information on these cases can contact the nearest police station. An autopsy on a pregnant woman who died at the Sangre Grande District Hospital on Tuesday is expected to be carried out at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex today. 31-year-old Shivana Sukram visited the hospital for a routine checkup on Tuesday when she started having severe contractions. Medical officials carried out an ultrasound and discovered that the child did not have a heartbeat. After delivering the deceased fetus, Sukram developed complications and died a short while after. The Eastern Regional Health Authority has since released a statement saying a thorough investigation has been launched into the matter. And C News has been in contact with the mother of the woman, Mrs. Lisa Sukram. Good afternoon, Ms. Sukram. Firstly, on behalf of all of us here at CTV, I'd like to extend our condolences to your family at this time. But can you give us an update on the situation with your daughter?
Oh, it's not my daughter, it's my sister.
Oh, your sister. Okay, well, can you give us an update?
Yeah. Okay, at the moment, we are waiting results from the forensic at Mount Hope. We are here waiting here. They haven't told us anything as yet. And right now, on some of these stations, I don't know which one of these stations is sending out wrong information as to what happened to my sister. You know, they were saying that she collapsed and she got a seizure after they delivered the baby. So I want to know if they're actually standing up for she to fall on the ground and catch a seizure. So, you know, they're sending out wrong information.
Well, could you just give us the correct information on what exactly happened with your sister?
Well, as far as that I know, right, she wasn't due until Sunday to do a C-section, right? But as usual, she went for a checkup Tuesday. And while she was there, she was experiencing some discomfort with pain. They did an emergency ultrasound, which they told her that the baby died. You know, they didn't even take the time to try to, you know, make it look nice, cover it up to save the mother or anything like that. They just tell her, well, your baby dead, and we had to go and do emergency surgery to remove the baby. So they went ahead, did the emergency surgery, removed the baby, baby died. Right, born died. Anyway, after that, they told us that she was getting some complication and she had fluid in her lungs, and they had to put her on the heart machine and whatnot and because her blood pressure was going down and her heart rate was dropping as well. After that, they were trying to stabilize her to get her to ICU, which they did. And in less than an hour or two after that, less than that, we got news that she passed away.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us here at C News, and we do hope that you get the necessary answers soon. To some other news now, $600 million will soon be used for the upgrade of San Fernando. The announcement was made by the San Fernando West MP and Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi during a meeting in his constituency on Wednesday night.
To tell you that you will hear very shortly that the Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago will be addressing close to $600 million of investment in San Fernando, not only in our waterfront development, but in our housing drive and in dealing with our constituency.
Mr. Al-Rawi gave a breakdown on some of the projects to be undertaken.
And that is why San Fernando will be spending on car parking close to the hospital, on the relocation of the PTSC service, on the development of the waterfront by land reclamation, housing, and business enterprise, so that we in San Fernando can enjoy our city in a safe environment where our people who live in San Fernando can work in San Fernando and be employed in construction in San Fernando.
Fishermen and Friends of the Sea and the Environmental Management Authority are advising people to observe caution in the consumption of bottom-dweller fishes from the water surrounding Le Bray until further investigation can be done into the hydrocarbon contamination. This comes in light of laboratory analysis conducted by the Caribbean Industrial Research Institute. FFOS says the report shows total petroleum hydrocarbons readings in excess of 26,000 milligrams per kilograms, both in the flesh of fish and sediment sampled in Le Bray. This, it says, is significantly higher than any scientific study on the matter or similar investigation into environmental and human health concerns. Fishermen and Friends of the Sea is calling for a transparent group of both state and civil society organizations, including fishermen, to establish the cause of the ongoing fish kills, to eliminate this cause, and to ensure the well-being of both our environment and the public health. While you're watching the C News Live report at noon, remember you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. The Attorney General Faris Al-Arawi says the People's National Movement came into government. There has been a sense of peace and calm across the country. He says especially in his constituency of San Fernando West, there have been more police patrols, which has led to the seizure of arms and ammunition as well as narcotics.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, slowly but surely the fabric weaves together. And I would like to encourage San Fernando and San Fernando West in particular to rest assured that our mission was not to talk. It was to make sure that we can perform. And performance of our economy is a critical matter.
Mr. Al-Rawi also said there have been no mass firings and protests since the September 7th, 2015 general election.
In 2010, how many of you recall the number of protests in the labor movement in the past 5 years, when oil stood at $140, $150 a barrel? Recognize that sometimes so-called no news is good news.
Over the last few days, both the government and opposition have been lashing out at each other on several issues, including the factor bill and economic development, with the government saying the opposition is not giving them the support they need to pass vital legislation, and that while in government the People's Partnership ran the country down. Then the opposition has said they are willing to work with the government, but they are not being realistic with bills being brought to the House. So today we asked you, do you think the government and opposition are politicizing the state of the economy? Here's what some of you had to say. Zareen said always, and that isn't news to anyone in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a normal thing. Maria said they already politicize the state of the economy. Pedro Barada said the supporters on both sides and the media as well have politicized the state of the economy. And Ryan Singh said the government is politicizing the state of the economy. Well, remember, you can be a part of the discussion. All you have to do is check our Facebook page at C News Live. The sale of wildlife hunting permits starts today at 10 locations across the country. In a statement, the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries reminded the public that the permits now cost $100. It explained the permits are not an entitlement to hunt before the start of the wildlife hunting season, which opens on October 1st and closes on February 28, 2017. Minister of Labour and Micro-Enterprise Development Jennifer Batiste-Primus has called on all citizens to put country before self as a way for the country to prosper once again. This as the country celebrates 40 years as a republic on September 24th. Addressing a gathering in the San Fernando West constituency, Ms. Batiste Primus asked for wisdom to be bestowed on both the president and opposition leader.
Our faith in our people and our confidence in who we are will overcome the evil forces that lurk in our midst. Those who, for their own selfish and nefarious reasons, will try to destroy our purposefulness and our belief in ourselves. May God continue to bless all of you. May he continue to bless the president of this country and give him higher wisdom. May he continue to bless our honorable prime minister. May he continue to bless the leader of the opposition with much more wisdom.
Well, you can't get sports from me because I don't know anything much about sports, so my colleague Rishi Harinanan is here to tell us what's happening in sports.
Thank you, Mahalia, and eventually you'll learn as I have been learning. Start with cricket news, and the West Indies may not want him, but all-rounder Darren Sammy is set to take charge of a high-powered all-star team this week in London for the Yorkshire T20 Charity Challenge. The 32-year-old two-time World 2020 winning West Indies captain will lead the Cricket United 11 against the Surrey All-Stars on Thursday at the Kia Oval. In a charity match that will feature several former and current players, Pakistan's off-spinner Saeed Ajmal will play under Sammy. Meanwhile, the national senior team football coach Stephen Hart is hoping for a big improvement when TNT resumes World Cup qualifiers later this year. He said Trinidad and Tobago was going all out to ensure World Cup qualification this time, with more than TNT on his mind.
Well, you know, I'm not in the prediction business, but I will promise them that we will do everything in our power to go back to the World Cup, because it was a fantastic feeling in 2006, and we want that feeling again. And we are not only doing it for Trinidad and Tobago, but for all of the Caribbean.
Hart was speaking on the Sportsmark Zone, indicating that he was disappointed with recent results, especially against the United States.
That drastically, we had played well away from home. And you know, away from home, you have to have a mentality that you're trying to get something out of the game. Of course, you want to win the game, but you also don't want to lose the game. And then take care of business at home. And I think as a team, we have to be a lot more focused and disciplined, especially when we play at home, and don't let the crowd and the reaction of the crowd anticipate your tactics or your individual playing behavior, and stick to the game plan.
Now, Club Sando became the latest project of Angus Eve after the former Northeast Stars and St. Anne's Rangers coach agreed to a 3-year agreement with the Digital Pro League club for the upcoming 2016-2017 season and onwards. The expectations are high, a top half of the table finish this season, and eventually the Digital Pro League crown from Eve's new employers. Since joining Sando in June, Eve has made wholesale changes to the club's roster, with goalkeeper Stephen Berkeley, midfielders Kevin Piper and Karen Cornwall, and forward Tevin Latapi all joining the Rangers. Former Northeast Stars midfielder Jamaican Keithy Simpson has also reunited with Eve following a stint in Finland. Sando made their Pro League debut last season, finishing 7th on the 10-team DPL standings under coach Anthony Street, who had led them to the Super League title the previous season, and before that, a runners-up finish. The new president of the UEFA is pushing the idea of a European Football Championship for Europe. Instead of using venues in one nation as in the past, he is proposing a tournament that uses 13 cities in different countries to make it truly European.
Cristiano Ronaldo has barely taken his hands off the trophy, and we're already talking about the next one that's to come in 4 years' time. But UEFA are very keen to move things on and talk about the future. Of course, Michel Platini, the old UEFA president, a man who left the organisation under somewhat of a cloud, well, this was his big idea. A Euro for Europe is how he described it. 13 different cities, all playing host to games, with the semi-finals and final culminating here in London at Wembley Stadium. But the new man in charge, Alexander Schäferin, well, he was here today at City Hall, the home of the London Mayor, to outline his vision for the tournament, and he believes it is a one-off, it is a celebration for Europe, but perhaps it won't be repeated again anytime soon.
It's good for football to show diversity in Europe, to show friendship, to show that East, West, North and South can come together.
And yet this will be a one-off though, Mr. Sheffrin. This will be a one-off event. This will not be repeated in the future.
Yeah, it meant like just the 60th anniversary.
There will be a significant amount of travel built into this, 13 different cities, as we've said, and that's something that they're going to try and leverage and show as a strength. They want to show how this European Championship can unite a continent. They're talking about the use of a bridge as a symbol. Today we got a vision for the logo, the look of the tournament, the symbol of the bridge common throughout it, showing how Europe can unite through this tournament, through football, and that's something that UEFA want to cling on to.
Former World 100-meter champion and convicted doper Tyson Gay has ended his attempt to join the United States bobsleigh team for the 2016-2017 season. The 34-year-old, who tested positive for steroids in 2013, pulled out of the U.S. Push Championships, a key part of the qualifying for the team. It was decided that it was in Gay's best interest to focus on learning and to watch, so said a Team USA spokesman. Gay's Olympic teammate Ryan Bailey won his category to close on a team spot. Bailey was part of the United States 4x100-meter relay team that was stripped of their Olympic silver medal from London 2012 because of Gay's positive test. And that's all we have for sport.
Now here's a look at what's taking place in the region.
President of the Barbados-based Caribbean Development Bank, Dr. Warren Smith, is warning the Barbados government that it needs to deal urgently with the island's worsening debt situation. Smith suggested that front-end adjustments are urgently needed to correct the economic slide. He described the island's overall fiscal position as unsustainable and cautioned that if left unchecked, it would do untold damage to the local currency. The main opposition St. Lucia Labour Party, SLP, has given the Alan Chastanet administration a failing grade after 100 days in office. SLP leader Philip Pear says the government has not managed to fulfill most of the promises made during the election campaign. The Prime Minister, Alan Chastanet, however, said on Monday that not only had the United Workers' Party, that's the UWP, had been saddled with an economy in a far worse state than anticipated, his government was stuck with decisions the SLP took on the eve of the general elections. These include extending the contract of the Attorney General to 2018 and the renewal of contracts of diplomats 2 days before the general elections with no out clauses. The issue of homeless people in the Dominican Republic is to be addressed by an Amnesty International delegation and representatives of Dominican civil society. They were scheduled to meet the Minister of Presidency, Gustavo Montalvo, at the Presidential Palace in the Dominican Republic on Wednesday. They delivered more than 50,000 petitions from 130 countries urging swift action to tackle the crisis of stateless people in that country. Guyana says it is satisfied with the efforts being made by outgoing United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon to find a satisfactory solution to the long-standing border dispute between Guyana and Venezuela. President David Granger said Guyana had abided by all the provisions of the Geneva Agreement both countries signed in February 1966. He said the agreement has given the Secretary-General specific responsibilities in the absence of Guyana and Venezuela reaching a mutually accepted position. He said that the Secretary-General is required to choose a course for the peaceful resolution of the controversy.
Time now for a look at the weather forecast.
The sunshine will be out once more and it will feel hot. Expect a high of 35 degrees Celsius in Trinidad, 32 degrees Celsius in Tobago. The heat and the still conditions, however, will likely spark a thunder shower or two, particularly over western Trinidad. Conditions will settle as the day cools through this evening. For those heading offshore, look for east-southeasterly winds of 5 to 10 knots and seas of 1 to 1.5 meters with northeasterly swells of 10 seconds. Low tide at 2:30 is followed by a high tide at 8:30. That is the latest weather, and I am meteorologist Dean Wallace.
In some international news now, the North Carolina governor has declared a state of emergency in the city of Charlotte as unrest continues over the police killing of a black man. Violence erupted for a second night after Keith Lamont Scott was shot dead by a black officer on Tuesday. The city said one protester is in critical condition after a civilian-on-civilian shooting. Mr. Scott was the third black man killed by police in a week. Such shootings have sparked huge protests recently. And bus drivers in the Venezuelan capital Caracas paralyzed the city for 8 hours on Wednesday by blocking the streets with their vehicles to protest against the country's economic crisis. Hundreds of drivers demanded more pay and protection from violent crime. Many said they needed more money to maintain their buses and complained of the scarcity of spare parts. Meanwhile, the Electoral Council all but ruled out a recall referendum this year against President Nicolas Maduro. And before we go, a bit of local news at hand. This country and the United States have signed the Customs Mutual Administrative Agreement to deal with crime and other illegal activities. This agreement allows counterpart customs authorities in different countries to exchange information, intelligence, documents and assistance that will ultimately assist in the prevention and investigation of customs offenses. And talks between the government and sandals and beach resorts are heating up. However, the Tobago Chief Secretary over London and the Minister in the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs, Stuart Young, are emphasizing that consultations for all stakeholders will occur before any move is made to go forward with their plans. Well, that brings us to the end of our C News report at noon. C News, powered by a team of journalists and producers across the Republic and the region, on television, radio and online.
C News, your country, our job.